Okay, we're going to be VOD reviewing a Silver Braum game. This guy ended last season Silver 4, and he's off to a tremendous start this season. He's 8-3, and he's Silver 2, but he didn't do so well in this game, and it looks like from the looks of it, he ends up going 2-5-3. So it's a pretty low scoring game, and it ends in about 20 minutes. So this is the type of game that you get into where things just don't sort of go right and your team doesn't mesh well and you just kind of lose the game quickly, and sometimes that's going to happen. But it's a really good game to look at because we can kind of quickly figure out what went wrong for this guy in such a short period of time. Even though it seems like sometimes in these games you just chalk it up to, oh well, like this game wasn't meant to be a win. There's oftentimes a lot of mistakes that you can find in a game like this, and it's probably the hardest for most people to figure out what they should be doing because not a lot happens. Hold on, let me turn the sound down a little bit. So first thing, number one, is like the way that they're lining up. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I like that he comes here on Braum. You should pretty much always be lining up closest to mid lane as you can be. So on this side of the map, it'd be over here, and on this side of the map, it'd be right here. This way, you're guarding one of the two entrances, but you're closest to mid lane and to top side. So if something happens over here, which it doesn't look like it will this game because everyone's bot side here. But if something breaks out on the other side of the map or in mid, you're closer to move, and it's more important for you as Braum level 1 to be able to move to mid or to top side if something happens or a fight breaks out than it is for your AD carry. So this was fine for the most part, but then I don't like that he's moving like really early here. Just into the red buff area, but I mean Samira's watching this, so it's not terrible. And like if somebody came through here, since they're not guarding this entrance, like at least they're kind of grouped together. But yeah, this is not great. And if like your AD carry is going to insist on standing in this spot, you know, it is better to guard this spot right away than to leave it completely open. Okay, hold on. Let's go back and look at this. So you never want to lose Guardian to the buff, and look, it's something that is kind of difficult to pull off. Even I lose Guardian to the buff, you know, like once every couple of games or so. But the way that Guardian works is it can go off for different reasons, right? And one of the reasons that it's going off when you're getting hit by a buff is you're not using an ability on your jungler, and your jungler's not about to die. So the only reason why it's going off is because your jungler took a certain amount of damage over a certain period of time. What that usually ends up being for almost every jungler in the game is if they get autoed by the buff twice in a row, then Guardian will proc. So what I like to do here to make sure that Guardian doesn't proc but I give a good leash is I like to get hit by the red buff or the buff first, so it hits me once, and it would go off if it hits you twice too. Same concept as your jungler, just with about how much HP everyone has level 1. So I want to take the first hit. Why do I want to take the first hit instead of like letting my jungler take the hit and then me taking the hit and then my jungler taking the hit? That would be better, but it's kind of difficult to do that because you would need to be able to get closer to the buff than your jungler on the second hit to switch aggro, and it's a very short timing window, so that's kind of difficult to do too. So usually what I do is I just make sure that I take the first hit. So if Kha'Zix is standing here, I can stand here like a little bit closer to the buff, and it'll hit me first. Then I'll walk behind Kha'Zix as my auto attack's on cooldown, and then it'll hit Kha'Zix, and then I'll kind of like, if you're, you know, not super proficient at doing this, I would just say, like, as Braum, tank the first hit for your jungler, auto the buff, Q the buff, maybe auto it again when it's hitting your jungler for the first time, and then just leave. Because Braum passive plus your Q is already doing a lot to help your jungler take the camp, plus the camp being stunned and not autoing them. So really, I would say that's all you need to do. You don't need to worry about doing anything special. But what I tend to do, which is more advanced, is you kind of kite in and out of Guardian range. So if Guardian range is a circle like this, I might auto it and then walk out, and then auto it and then walk out until it's time to leave like normal. And that way I get a few extra auto attacks in for my jungler, but that's not really necessary because that's going to cause you to lose Guardian a bunch of times if you don't do it really perfectly. So what I would say is just, losing Guardian, it's like a 70-second cooldown or longer. So when it hits Kha'Zix here, your Guardian pops, and now you don't have that in lane, and it's really bad because of how long the cooldown is. You won't even have it sometimes, I think, for level 2. But it's really important to have this in lane. And then we can talk about the matchup a little bit, right? So we're playing versus a Pyke Jhin, and we're Braum Samira. At least we're not playing versus a ranged champion, but generally Braum Samira both kind of have the same problem, which is they're both going to get shoved in almost every matchup because they don't have very good range, and their wave clear is very bad, especially early. So we take this bush control, which is nice, but then we Q blindly into the bush, and I don't like doing this. Something that's really important is always being patient with your abilities and not just spamming them. And here we're just like checking the bush with the Q, but what happens here, even if Pyke is in the bush and we hit the Q, our Q goes on cooldown, there's no way to follow up. What if Jhin makes a mistake and walks up too far, or Pyke comes up and tries to hook somebody or something like that? We want to have our Q available in case something like that happens, and so it's better to do that rather than just going for a blind Q on Pyke potentially being in the bush. The other thing is here is it's like I said, you're probably going to get pushed in anyways, but neither support has touched the minions at all yet. So even if you don't have Targon stacks up, you can walk up and hit these minions. The other thing is, okay, so what if Jhin autos me? Well, you're going to try to hit a minion that's as far away from Jhin as possible. But there are times when Jhin backs up enough that you could definitely, like, if Braum's standing here, you can auto this minion and Jhin can't auto you, for example, with the way that he's walking. So like here, he's far enough back that you could be autoing this. So I would be autoing this and trying to push for level 2. So just because we're expecting to get pushed in doesn't mean that we don't do everything that we can to try to get level 2 first. So neither support is touching the wave and pushing for level 2. And then the other thing I was going to say is, even if Jhin does auto you, what happens is all of your minions, right, will aggro the Jhin. So it's not that bad if you're standing far back. Like if he has to walk up into you to auto you, 1, he's not autoing the wave while he's doing that. 2, you've got great health regen on Braum and potions to burn anyways, so even if you have to burn a potion level 1 in order to get level 2 first, especially in low elo where they're likely to mess up when you get level 2 first and you're likely to be able to W in and get a kill or something or burn a flash, really worth like playing more up and pushing the wave and playing aggressively. Again, we throw a Q here, and it's just not a patient Q where there's like a reason to throw it, right? It's just we're throwing Q because like we have the ability, but is Jhin or Pyke a threat to us here at all? No, absolutely not. Would the poke really do anything? No, because they're both full HP. The thing is that like in League, you have health regen, right? In some ways, unless you're going to get 100 to 0'd, it's almost good to be missing a little bit of HP all the time, because that means you're utilizing your health regen all the time. Whereas if you're at 100% HP, that means that your health regen is doing nothing for you. So let's say that Jhin gets hit here and takes like 50 damage or something like that. He's just going to have his health regen heal him back to full. And so the Q is not going to do anything to the Jhin. it's just putting it on cooldown for you for 8 seconds and taking your more mana away. It doesn't do much. So again, we can be like hitting the wave here, and now in this new season, right, old season, you used to get 2 Targon stacks for the first wave. The way that the new item works, you only get 1, and so usually what you're going to want to do in order to try to surprise them the most is last hit, you know, you and your AD carry would want to like kill 2 minions at the same time to surprise them the most. So for example here, I wouldn't have hit that yet because now it's really clear to them that this 1 minion dies and then you hit level 2. I would wait until one of them drops low, and then Samira autos one and you auto the other one. But we end up both hitting level 2 at the same time, but I think that you can see how both Qs that we've used so far in the lane have been kind of pointless, and we didn't auto the wave at all to try to get level 2 first, and I get why we didn't really position up when we did get level 2, because we were both hitting level 2 at the same time. I mean, they hit it a little bit faster even. Like again here, what does this accomplish, right? So like in League, a lot of times people feel like if they're pressuring the opponent, that's a good thing, right? Like to always be pushing feels like a good thing. To make your opponents have to run backwards feels like a good thing, but what is it actually accomplishing? Nothing. Because what we've done here is we've walked up, potentially put ourselves in some danger actually, because after we hit level 2, usually what you do is level 2, you hit level 2, sometimes there's a skirmish if they don't respect that you got level 2 and back up enough and you have a way to get in, right? After level 2, you should be dropping your trinket in this bush pretty much every time in case their jungler ganks you early. Even if their jungler doesn't gank you early, so like 3 camp into bot, if they do a full clear into bot, your ward will be at the tail end of its of expiring when they finish their full clear towards bot. So after level 2, a little bit after level 2, you know, once you've made any level 2 moves you want to make on their bot lane, then you go and place this ward. So what I would have liked to see here, instead of walking up and throwing this Q, is to just go ward and put yourself in a safe position. Now imagine, maybe not super likely to happen with a Talon jungle or something like that, but we know that in Silver they're probably not even thinking about this. What if their jungler had ganked you here after 3 camp or something like that, was like on his way bot, and you positioned yourself really far up like this and missed Q, and then their jungler walks out of the river at you? You're in like a really bad spot. So again, what do you accomplish here by throwing the Q? Not really anything. You force them to walk backwards for 1 second. You take way more mana away than, you know, you don't take anything away from them. It doesn't do anything. So just hold on to the ability until there's an appropriate moment. Now, if they want to, they have a few seconds where they can walk up and do, and they are doing something maybe more aggressively than they would normally be able to do. Now Jhin doesn't even auto there, but I mean, you can see how like he could have walked at Samira and bullied her a little bit because your Q's on cooldown. So like a better Jhin would have autoed Samira here and pressured her because of the fact that you've burned your ability. Now that your Q is back up though, it's up in about 0 seconds, you 100%, I can already see, are going to want to W into this minion and then auto Jhin and then Q Jhin. And, you know, potentially lead into an exhaust and look for a kill. So let's see what he does. He's still right in melee range of the minion, and there's no jump. Still in melee range of the minion, no jump. So now we have an actual opportunity to punish them for being too far forward, first time all game. We spent 3 Qs doing nothing, didn't push the wave, didn't ward. So essentially all we've done is right click and walk around in a circle and waste some mana, and then the one opportunity we did have where they walked up too far and we could go in on them, we didn't do anything. No flame. Okay, so a couple of things going wrong here. Let's go back and look at this a little bit slowly. So we can see that the wave is starting to get thinned out, but you're sitting on 2 Targon stacks, so like help push the wave here. Like execute that minion, let her last hit this, run up and try to execute the cannon minion so that the wave's more even. You're letting yourself get pushed in like this because you're not fighting for the wave even now. So it's not just level 1 you've got to fight for the wave. Even on a champion like Braum, when you're playing against a hook champion like Pyke, you need your minion wave. You can't let them start pushing into you, you know, because if you let them push into you, Pyke is gonna have more room to the left and to the right where he can walk up and hook. And so why is Pyke walking up right here? It's because his opportunity comes when your wave gets thin finally. He hasn't cast an ability all game, and so he walks up holding his ability, and is able to hook you. If you had fought, you know, more for the wave, if you had gotten a couple autos in and executed a minion or two here, he probably wouldn't have the room to do this. You also miss Q when he's coming into you, but that was the correct response to try to Q him when he's looking to hook. So I don't, you know, it's just a miss. But I actually like the missed Q on Pyke here better than the other 3 Qs, because at least like this was the correct time to Q, right? Okay, but it's not too bad. Like, you take a little bit of damage. There's no play here, right? Like, the wave is bad for you. If you start hitting them, their cannon minions on you. Samira's obviously posturing like she wants to walk back after this play from Pyke, but you walk up and get autoed by Jhin. A better Jhin here would have force-shot you. There's no reason why he couldn't have autoed you there. Oh, he still does, because you're still walking up too far. The other thing, of course, is that I'm sure you know this, I assume, but the new Targons, the new support item, gives you the same amount of gold no matter what minion you're killing. Killing a minion by any means grants you 20 gold. That's it. Or 30 gold melee, it says. Oh, that's damages against champions. Anyways, the point is that one of the things that they did to try to help champions like Braum and melee supports is, because you used to have to kill the cannon minion, you would have to walk up even if you really didn't want to, and take a bad trade sometimes just to get the cannon minion, and it would actually be worth it because the cannon minion's so much gold. You don't have to do that anymore. You only use Targons, right, on minions that you can safely hit. So you walk up to and take a 4th shot from Jhin to take this cannon minion, which you don't really need to take because their wave is big. It's coming into you. You can get 1 or 2 under the tower anyways, and it'll probably help Samira last hit. Just don't contest the cannon minion, because now Samira gets the same amount of gold, because otherwise it would actually make your team lose gold, right? But the support is getting the same amount of gold whether they're last hitting a cannon minion, a melee minion, or a ranged minion on this new support item this season. So there's a lot of misconception right now because the AD carry expects the support to continue last hitting the cannon minions, but we don't actually want to if it's in a bad spot, and so that's confusing for the AD carry, and so sometimes we're like walking up and going for it anyways just because we don't want the AD carry to get confused and miss the cannon. But don't take a bad trade for cannon anymore. No need this season. Okay, so then this is pretty good. So Pyke walks back to Q, and we appropriately respond, both you and Samira, 100% on the same page, which is great. We hit the Q this time on a Pyke when he walks in, and we get the stun onto him and the ignite. The only problem is, of course, that we're pretty low from taking that 4th shot. This positioning is really not good. So this is a good trade onto Pyke, but you've been walking forward the whole time to the point where you're even in front of Pyke, basically. I would have liked to see you when you stun Pyke here. He has no hook. He's no threat to you anymore. I would have liked to see you kite back this way, and you could have been like here out of Jin's auto range if you kited this way. Instead, I can tell you 100% you're going to die here because you're kiting forward into a 2v2 you don't win. So you get E'd by Pyke when his E comes back up, and your AD carry is now chasing Pyke because he's committed to trying to kill Pyke since he had to, because your play here is to keep fighting forward. And if you're going to fight forward like you're expecting to die here, Samira basically has no choice but to try to trade with the Pyke in order to get it. And hopefully Samira can get out here, but she might be in trouble too. Yeah, she's dead. So, really bad sequence of events, right? But, and this is what I mean. Like, again, absolutely no flame. The difference between silver and like diamond or masters is massive, okay? Because we're talking, and I mean this truly, we could go on, this could take a long time because every single thing is a mistake, right? Like every second is a mistake. No offense, right? But like, we should be pushing the wave level 1, we should be warding, we don't, we shouldn't be wasting Q. When Pike comes into us, we need to hit that Q, right? Like, when we're back here and we're going for the cannon minion, we don't need to be going for that cannon minion. Before the cannon minion, we need to be pushing the wave again when we're level 2 so that Pike doesn't have an open lane where they have a bigger wave than us and he has room to walk up and hook us. This was the appropriate response to Pike walking up and hooking here, but then we kite forward because we think we win 2v2 here when we don't. We should be kiting backwards. That ends up baiting in Samira and we get double killed. Uh-oh, he says his ping is 501. Hopefully that wasn't happening while he was laning. Otherwise, that would be very difficult. Okay, so they get a plate. To be honest, they probably shouldn't have taken a plate here. They probably should have just instantly recalled as soon as they got the wave in. Recall timing is super important, and even players with good mechanics who get to like Emerald or Diamond don't understand recall timing at all. And because they don't understand recall timing, they kill themselves way more often than they should, even though they're good players. And they miss out on a lot of gold and XP because they're recalling at the wrong time. If they immediately leave after taking this plate, it might be okay. But we'll see what happens here. Oh, let's go back here because there's a mistake too from you. So when you're coming back into lane, this is really important. This is pretty high level, but it's good advice. And I think everyone should try to learn it and incorporate it into their gameplay. Vision is really important, okay? Especially when we're talking about in a silver game, right, where they don't necessarily know what they're supposed to do. A lot of times, right, what I'd like to see is they don't really know when you're going to get back. They don't, in silver, they don't have a good enough sense for, okay, their bot lane's going to be back at this time. So there's a lot of things that you can do here with this. When I walk back into lane or onto the map in general, never show yourself for free, right? You have when you're off the map, nobody knows where you are. Like, you could be mid right now, you could be bot, you could be top for all anybody knows. Use that to your advantage. Don't just walk into bot lane casually from max range vision for them from 1,000,000 units away and show them where you are, right? Do something creative with the fact that they don't know when you're going to get back and they don't know where you are. So I'd like to see a couple of things here. Well, it's good to use W and stuff back into lane. If you're using W here at this time, it's not good. Because, if you're using W back here and then it's up when you get over here, it's one thing. But when you're using W here, you're jumping, but you're not getting anywhere near them. So what I'd like to see you do is one of two things. One is they don't have any wards, but regardless whether they do or don't, you should just try this. Rather than walking at them and saying, hey, we're back, this is the time that we get back into lane from what just happened, walk through here, through the bushes, and wrap around and flank them. Even if they run away when they see Samira and start recalling in a bush here, you'll probably be able to wrap around and queue them. And if you can get Samira to follow up, even if you take a bad trade doing it, what you'll do is you'll force them to stay in the lane and stop their recalls when they have no items and you guys have just bought items. And so even though you're behind because you've gotten double killed in this lane and played pretty poorly, right? you're up a cloth armor and a longsword on them, prevent them from going back to base at like any cost. The other option, because they're right at your turret, is you can save your W, and instead of using it to jump to here, wait until you can jump to your closest minion to them and jump over here. If you wait and then W here, maybe you can get onto them and stop their back. The other thing that you can do in order to make this a little bit more successful is, instead of running in the middle of the lane in a straight line, I used to think, oh, I want to really like save a second if I can, running back to lane by running exactly into the middle of the lane, right, in a perfect straight line, because a straight line's faster than a diagonal line. However, what I almost always do now, if I'm going to walk straight back into lane, is I hug this wall. Now, why do I hug this wall? The reason why I hug this wall is because if you run at them here versus running at them here, they're going to have a harder time getting away from you when they start running into this wall. So kind of think of it, this concept I first learned actually playing soccer, which is if somebody has the ball and they're going to the goal, let's say like this line of vision here is the goal. Somebody has the ball and they're running at the goal to score in a straight line, right? If you're a defender, you don't run in a straight line at the person with the ball. You run diagonally to cut them off, right? To get back to where they're going to be. You run diagonally towards the goal, and you cut them off before they get to the goal, right? It's the same concept here, right? What do they want to do? They want to get to this bush and recall. So what you need to do is, rather than taking a straight line, like this and chasing them in a curve, get to the top of this wall so they see you as late as possible, W to your furthest minion as soon as they see you back in lane, and you're almost in Q range. Then you take this straight line here while they're wrapping around this curved line here, and you have a much shorter path to get to the bush than they do. So you're on top of them and you prevent them from recalling. So you W in, and let's see here. You mess up this minion because really you should hit it once, and actually if it's the last ranged minion in a wave, your minions will probably hit it, and so you don't need to hit it at all. So you miss this minion because you kind of mess up the last hitting on it. And what you should be doing here is chasing them and stopping them from recalling. So let's see what happens. Like I said, silver players do not understand, even diamond players do not understand recall timing. So their bot lane is ahead because they double killed you. If we take a look, they're sitting on 1,700 gold and 1,500 gold, but they haven't spent any of it. This is the gold here is gold. Oh, this is total and this is unspent. So the gold here that's not in parentheses, right, is the gold in their inventory. So in other words, what you can see is that while Jin has earned 1,700 gold this game and Samira's earned 1,000 gold, Samira is only sitting on 232. So she's spent like 800 gold, whereas Jin has not spent 1,200 gold. So he's only got 500 gold that he's spent. So what that means is that your Samira, and you'll see it right if you hit tab and look at the items, your Samira has this item advantage like we talked about, the longsword and the cloth armor, and they don't have any advantage. So you guys are, as soon as you hit level 3, and you're really close, Samira's almost already level 3, I mean, you guys have advantage in this lane. They should have either recalled when they got the wave into the turret, or they should have taken a plate and then immediately recalled, even though they'd be like a little bit late to the wave you guys are going to push in. Instead, they just decide to stay because, hey, we're full HP, it doesn't matter. But let's say they had recalled here, because Jin actually started his recall, but then decided not to for some reason. Probably because they had already trolled and it was kind of late. Maybe that's why. Would you have walked at this bush and stopped them, is my question. Because you really should, right? Because you can maintain this lane state where you guys are actually ahead even though you're behind if you stop them from recalling here. But I don't know that you would have contested their recall or not. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we Q here for a little bit of poke, but Pike was full HP, so all we're really doing is taking away a little bit of our mana and putting our Q on cooldown in order to take a bit of his HP away. Now imagine Pike waits for your passive to fade and then comes in and hooks, which is exactly what he's doing, by the way. He misses, but and now your Q has just come up, so you can kind of punish it. But like, you know, the normal trade pattern, like you went for the first time, to Q him when he's trying to hook, you can't do that because your Q's on cooldown. So had he been a little bit quicker and actually thrown and hit his hook instead of waiting like he did, you know, that would have been really good for them. So don't waste the Q. What are you accomplishing with all this Qs? Like 90% of the Qs you're throwing aren't doing anything. Okay, this was a decent Q, right? Because Pike's hooking into you again, so it's fine. Oh, the replay's bugged. We can't see your E, but I can tell that you're Eing from the animation. So not a terrible trade, right? It's fine. Okay, hold on. Let's take a look at this, and let's turn vision on because I can't see what's going on. So Kha'Zix is coming. So you know Kha'Zix is here. You go on a Jhin. This is completely fine. Pike W'd here, and honestly you'd kind of expect him to run away, especially because you know your jungler's here, so you wouldn't really expect Pike to go over here. So this is fine. Onto Jhin. Hold on, let's take a look at something though. Do you space your auto attacks correctly? Probably not. Let's look. Okay, so here you Q, auto. Oh, not bad spacing actually. So Kha'Zix is trolling because he has jump. So he should have leaped onto Jhin. Even here, he, like, the turret's over here, and there's this new area to work with. So he could, like, E here and stun this guy, right? He just doesn't do it. So I don't know why Kha'Zix just walked at the guy and then watched him flash instead of actually Eing. And then Kha'Zix griefs again. So, okay, now that you're turning on Pike, right? Do we have wards? We probably have wards, right? Because we haven't warded the whole game. So, A, drop a ward, right? B, why? Oh man, we even jumped forward here. So Pike is obviously trying to run through us to over here. In the same way that we were talking about, like, kiting between your auto attacks to get extra distance, what you're doing right now in order to try to get to Pike is you're giving up all of the flank that you had on him. So you and Kha'Zix, actually Kha'Zix does it better than you. You guys get so close to him that when he eases away, now look at how far away you've put yourself from him. You should just stand over here and wait for Pike to come to you. Throw Q at him, you know, if you have it. If you don't, that's fine. Just wait for him to come into you and then hit him. Because if you don't get stunned here, and Kha'Zix doesn't get stunned here, if you wait and play patiently for him to have to walk into you, or just let Samira 1v1 him, which Samira can do, right, because he can't walk through you guys, you'll just kill Pike. Even if you have to wait to auto him over here because you don't have your Q, if you don't get stunned and you auto him when he eases into you over here, you guys are going to get the stun off with 3 people there for sure, even if you have to wait to auto him there. So realistically, Kha'Zix should have just jumped on the Jhin and autoed him, and you would have stunned him and killed him. Then you could have turned on Pike, and if you had waited on the flank, you probably would have killed Pike too. So this is probably a double kill, but you know, you get the idea. Okay, now their jungler's coming in, but we miss Q. And we're too far forward, so now we're getting hooked, and now we're dead. Well, maybe we live, but we're probably dead. Oh, we're able to W out, and then we miss another Q. Okay, let's take a look at this again, because this is kind of a mess. Okay, let's see from our vision. When do we see Talon? Because it looks like you keep walking forward too long. So we saw Talon here, so why are you still walking forward? And then this Q, which I assume is supposed to maybe be at Pike, is like really not good. And you don't even have W, so like being this far up is really, really bad if they're coming in to you like this. And then we're walking at Talon here, I assume because we're wanting to protect Kha'Zix, but Kha'Zix is safe. Look at how far away Kha'Zix is. It's like a lack of understanding that Talon can't actually kill Kha'Zix here. You're the one in the most danger because you're the one who's put yourself way too far up. You need to be walking back here and getting behind your minions so that Pike can't hook you, not walking at Talon in a straight line. So because you walk at Talon in a straight line trying to protect Kha'Zix instead of yourself, even though you're in a worse position than Kha'Zix is, you get hooked and taken down to like 1 HP. So you dodge Jin W with your W. And you have Q. So you should Q Talon right here. And you do try to Q Talon, it's just a little bit slow. You know, so it's a really crucial miss, to be honest. If you had hit Talon with Q, he would have died to Kha'Zix here. Because your Q is going to do, and he's about to take minion damage. Look at how low he gets. He goes to 50, maybe even lower. Yeah, he's getting hit by another minion. He goes to 41 HP. So obviously, if you had hit your Q on Talon, either here, I think you had time to do it before he jumped, or even had held your Q and been more patient, waited until he was on top of Kha'Zix to throw it. This guy's dead 100% if we hit that Q. So that's a really crucial miss, right? And then, is our E back up? No, we don't have anything. So it's fine. If we don't have anything like this, it's probably pretty fine that we're back here. But Kha'Zix does end up dying. I think Samira could have done more. Yeah, she's even got like E here. He's got like 600 HP and Kha'Zix is like 1 auto from dying. There's no reason why you can't like E into Jin's face here and pressure him more, especially with the other two being extremely low. So Samira definitely should have just like tripled them there if he was any good. But anyways, you get the idea. This is going to take forever if we go through everything. Okay, why? Uh-oh. So now we're staying in the lane instead of recalling. It's kind of fine because Samira has a lot of HP. This was good. Good disengage from the Pike Q to Q and walk back behind the minions like that. Yeah, it's not looking good anymore. The problem is that the Jin ended up getting red buff, although Kha'Zix is coming to bail us out here. So Jin ended up getting red buff and healing a lot. Not really sure why Kha'Zix did that, and now he's pinging you because he had to come bail you out. And let's say you guys had reset here, so Kha'Zix died. If you guys would have backed, yes, you're giving them the wave, you're giving them the push, but you don't have a choice. You were at like 300 HP. You just kind of have to give them the push, right? It's just the result of the previous play not working out in your guys' favor. If you're reset when Kha'Zix died, right, and you walk together to his Raptors, which you should probably do because the wave is going to be you know, like Samira's going to be on her way bot, and then the wave is going to be, well, maybe it's tough to walk with the Kha'Zix to Raptors, but most of the time on support, like if you had reset at the same time as Kha'Zix, you probably could have walked him to Raptors, and that wouldn't have happened either. The reason why I say it's a little bit tough to walk to Raptors with Kha'Zix is if you had let them get the wave in and taken your reset, the wave crashes into your tower and then it pushes back towards them, which means that if you get bogged down at, you know, Raptors or something for too long, you're going to leave Samir alone pushing 1v2, you know, walking up further and further into lane. You need to help her break the freeze and make sure he doesn't get ganked during this time and all that stuff. So it is difficult if your wave's pushing away from you like that to walk with Kha'Zix to Raptors, but you can still walk with him to Raptors and then immediately walk bot, right? And they won't jump on him if you show yourself there. Um, so like this is another situation. So like let's look at what's happening with the wave bot, right? So you should be walking mid here like almost 100%. I guess it's a fizz, so like you can kind of argue that you shouldn't walk towards mid. Now you're just standing still doing nothing. But like they're shoving the wave into you guys anyways. So as soon as Samira arrives here, she's just going to be farming under tower. So there's not really a reason to not like walk towards Raptors or mid, see if like Kha'Zix wants to do the grubs that are in the game now. Instead, you just walk straight back bot. So you're basically given a turn here out of base and you don't do anything with it. And again, like, are you going to do anything by walking here? No, you're probably just going to walk here and walk back. But what if Fizz is level 6, right? His ult happens to be on cooldown because they used it on Kha'Zix over here. But like, the point is not that every single time you walk over here to check if something's going to happen. It's not always going to happen. It's just that you can, and it doesn't make a difference towards bot lane, because Samira last hitting this right now by herself versus last hitting it with you, maybe it doesn't matter. Myself personally, I actually like running back to bot lane instead of roaming quite a lot, especially if it's a champion like Fizz. I don't think you're going to get anything here, so I can respect coming back bot lane here. However, same thing that we talked about before. Their bot lane didn't just shove the wave in and recall. They shoved the wave in and then they took a plate, and now they're here again when you guys are getting back. This is not good from them because they should really back before you guys get back. Otherwise, if they were to recall now, even after immediately taking the plate, by the time they get back, Samira is going to have had the opportunity to shove the wave into their tower, which means it's going to bounce back towards you guys, which means Samira is going to be able to farm safely. So they should have backed earlier. However, they're overstaying again, right? So we have another situation where they should be really far ahead. And they are a little bit now, because I mean it's been really disastrous. But if you look here, like it's Dirk to Dirk. Jin is up a I don't even know what this is, a Rectrix. So he's got 20 attack damage and 4% movement speed up on Samira. But like, and his buff should wear off soon, I think. Yeah, red buff and blue buff are both fading now. So honestly, like it's a little bit bad, but again, when you hit level 5, which should be in a little bit here, when you're level 5 and they're level 5 and they haven't recalled, you're only down like a little bit in items. So even though again the lane's been a complete disaster, right? You guys all died here twice, right? The lane's not that doomed because they didn't recall. And they're still not recalling, although Jin's hit level 6 now, so that's really rough. I would be pinging here, because we haven't seen Pyke for a long time. I would be pinging that Pyke's missing. But I guess it's okay, because Nico's roaming down towards us anyways. Oh, but then she just walks away, even though now they show. See, like again, this Q, right? It's a really thin Q. You're trying to like bend it around the minion type of thing. He's super far away and about to walk into a bush, so you don't accomplish anything by hitting him with Q here, but you need to hold it, you know, in case something happens, in case you guys get dove. Fizz is moving, well, Fizz is trolling, but, you know, Fizz could roam down towards bot here, their jungler could be here, Pyke hooks you like that, and your Q could be on cooldown. But this was a good response to Pyke hooking. This Pyke is a little bit too slow. Uh-oh. This Pyke's a little bit too slow in reacting to you using Q like that. Like, you should immediately punish it, not wait until your Q's back up again to hook. You miss an auto attack here because you back up a little bit too far, but it's kind of okay because you don't really want to take that fight too much anyways. This is really grief positioning. Like, obviously Pyke is just in the bush waiting for you, so you need to be over here with Samira. I don't know why you think that, like, you guys 2v2 right now. Jin's level 6, Pyke's like in the bush here. I guess you drop a ward, but like, why not stand back here and drop a ward in the edge of the bush, which will reveal the exact same thing. So this is like really aggressive ward. The other thing is, like, why not wait until Samira kills this one minion and your minions move up here and boom, then you can ward like here or something like that. Instead you just get hooked in and a Jin trap goes off, and you get E'd. Oh, the E doesn't hit you, Jin autos you, you Q backwards because you're kind of panicking here and like clicking, you know, you're clicking backwards or whatever. And then you get autoed again and W out. Oh man, now Samir is W'd. You get hit with the force shot. So this is like really, really bad trade. And now they're like, yes, they didn't recall at the appropriate time, but you've taken such a bad trade that it doesn't even matter. Kha'Zix gets killed here. The other thing is, like, keep in mind how this could have played out. Like, you could have kept them in lane and waited for level 6 and waited for a good opportunity to fight back in this lane, even though you're really far behind. And instead you're just trapped here, doomed. And if Jin, like, gets a little bit... Oh, that was terrible. Oh my god, you guys got bailed out so hard. I was just about to say, if Jin gets a little bit of damage onto Samira and then opens up ult on you guys are doomed and you're gonna miss a huge wave. But he just opens up ult, super like bad ult, because you guys are right on the edge of it and would have just walked out anyways. And he right clicks the ground to cancel it, probably because it was so bad, maybe because he doesn't realize moving after he ults will just cancel it. So that's crazy. So essentially you're waiting on a bailout again from your jungler, like you've doomed your lane and you need help, like otherwise you know, it's doomed. So Kha'Zix is here on Krugs and you're basically waiting for him to save you. Uh-oh. Except Kha'Zix is making a mistake, not realizing what's going on bot and that you guys need bailed out. Maybe he's just mad at you for what's gone on earlier and doesn't want to be bothered with helping you, and so he's just done Krugs and left. And again, you've put yourself, even with a ward this time, I don't even understand what this is. Let's take a look here. So Samir gets the last hit. Oh, I mean, to be fair, Pyke W's, I guess, that's pretty tough. But too far forward here, regardless. That was a good engage from Pyke. Oh my god, you get bailed out again because Pyke misses ult. He ults the Samira instead of where you are. Let me take a look again. So this is a good play from Pyke, but regardless of whether it's a good play from him or not, you should... I guess you flash. But it was kind of... his reaction was pretty delayed. You need to back up. Oh. So you get hit with hook there. Really lucky you didn't die off of getting hit with hook there. Like when he's walking at you like that, when you're recalling, even if you don't know he's gonna flash Q, like you need to respect the fact that he's about to get in Q range of you. And so you decide to bail out and recall here and leave your AD carry under tower, which is very questionable because their jungler's missing. So what if their jungler comes and dives your AD carry right now? Like both of them used ult, so actually even as low as you were after getting hooked like that, they don't have a lot of kill pressure on you. Jin has no mana, neither of them have ult, you guys are under tower. If your AD carry gets dove here, it's really, really bad, and he needs to pick up this wave. So I definitely think it's cowardly to back here, and you probably should have played with your AD carry. Again, no offense, but kind of cowardly. You got to play with your ADC for this. So he's missing this wave anyways, even though he stayed. So he's risking getting dove by Talon, and he's not even getting the minions. So this, I mean, this feels really bad if you're Samira here. Oh, stay behind the minion. Oh, he gets hooked and doesn't stay behind the minion. See, you gotta run behind your minions when he's hooking like that. I don't know why we're walking towards him. And they are still overstaying. They still haven't left. Oh, this is good from you. Huh. This is good from you, but Samira's leaving. This was a good attempt. Like, when they're way overstaying, Pyke's super low. Even if Talon... because Talon could be here right behind them, by the way. So, like... but you guys are so far behind at this point. Like, you really got to do something. And so I totally agree with fighting this here. And Talon was right there, actually. He was on Dragon. So, look, you know, just like poker, right? You got to play the odds. If Samira would have fought this with you, you both would have died because of where Talon is. But I still think it's the right thing to do. Because you're so far behind that you have to coin flip. You have to hope that Talon isn't here and that you get a kill on Pike or something and bring the lane back. Otherwise, it's really difficult. Anyways, so I support going for the play and trying to keep them in the lane. Samira backs anyways, so you're not going to keep them in lane by yourself here, so that's fine. But okay, so let's take a look at this though, because this is a mistake. So we were talking about, you know, the play there, but then let's look at actually what happens here after you back off, because it's been like a full minute or something here. We've just backed up. So you get back here and then go to try brush. Okay, so let's look at what happens here. So you back up. Samira's recalling. Okay, and let's watch what happens here. So I support hanging around here, because what they should do now, right, is they should shove this wave and then immediately recall. Okay, so let's see what they do and what you do. So I would hang around here instead of roaming, so that when they leave and recall, because they're going to try to immediately recall, I would catch this wave and hold it for Samira. So let's see what you do here. You do not catch the wave. So if you walk here, right, and hold the wave, then Samira is going to have a freeze when she gets back. Your minions are here, so you don't even have to hold it for that long. Yes, you are walking into Pike and Jhin, but Jhin has no mana. Pike and Jhin still... oh, maybe actually both of them do have their ult now. I don't think you're in too much danger doing this. Talon's actually behind you on Krugs too. But... again, desperate times call for desperate measures. I would hold the wave here. It helps Samira a lot. The thing is that we are talking about this specific game, but we're also talking about like learning the game in general. And you almost always just do what you can. You're full HP, right? It's very unlikely, even 1v2, that they're actually going to be, you're right in front of your tower. If they start walking at you, you can just let it go because they're not giving it the hold to you. You just need to try to hold this because it's very good, because it sets up a freeze for your AD carry instead of the wave bouncing and again pushing back into them. So what I would have done is I would have held the wave here. All you have to do is hold it until your minions arrive. So your minions have just arrived, so now you wouldn't be holding it anymore. You're actually kind of lucky. This is not going to make a difference, but one minion did actually hold itself. But as soon as your minions got here, so I would have already been walking this way, and I would have been walking towards mid, because you have a window to roam in the time that it takes Samira to walk back here. Also, big difference, like we just talked about, if you have a freeze here with like 3 or 4 minions that Samira is returning to, she's returning to farming safely under turret. Whereas if you let the wave crash into the turret and bounce like this, it's going to be pushing into them. Even with this one minion, and I'll explain why, it's going to be pushing into their turret. So again, Samira is going to be walking up 1v2 if you try to leave and roam right now. But that's just the generic, like, you have this timing window to roam here. And I know that, like, it's a little bit difficult because the fight's actually happening up here in, like, the top river, and so it's further for you to walk even. And you're already on kind of a slim window because Samira's already on her way back to lane. But you could have been on your way up to this fight. And Talon shows up. They kill this guy together. They just stay together. Oh, they played it so bad. This guy's full HP doing nothing for his teammate. Oh, and he misses ult. Oh, but he kills Fizz because he was able to E-Fizz under the turret. Oh my god, oh no. He has to blow flash because he didn't move between his auto attacks. He just stood there. But anyways, this entire time you basically like last hit 2 minions, let 3 run into your tower and die, and you also probably have some gold, right? Like 300 gold. It's not nothing. You can go back and buy like boots or something like that, depending. Are you running? I don't know what runes you're running. I don't know what secondary runes you have. I mean, maybe you have magical footwear, but you could I mean, you can buy something. So even that, like going back and buying boots or going back and buying another cloth armor or something is going to be better than just standing around here. Or you should roam to this fight. 100% should roam to this fight. You should hold the wave, then roam to the fight. Okay, so then let's look at what we're doing with the wards here. So this is what's called like a dead ward. What you're doing is you've got a ward here, so you can already see somebody who's coming in from all of these places. Even like here in the river, this ward will see like down here, right? So you're seeing everything over here. So this ward that you've placed here is now useless because of the ward that you've placed here. Or you could argue, right, that like this ward is useless because the ward you placed here. Either way, it doesn't matter. The point is that you have 2 wards here and you only need 1, right? So I was telling you about this earlier. Rather than warding all 3 bushes like this, just because there's 3 bushes there, just ward this one in the middle. It'll show you where their, jungler is coming from with plenty of time in advance. So unless you're pushed up really, really far, you just don't need this bush warded. So I would ward here. If you have a control ward, maybe you put your control ward in here. You're probably going to put it back as far as you can in the bush so that it's harder for them to come kill it if they want. Before, people used to ward here because this pixel bush didn't exist, but you used to be able to ward here even though there was no bush there, because it would show you both people coming out of Tribe Rush to gank you and also people coming down the river to gank you. But people don't place this ward anymore because there's a bush, so now you ward the bush here instead of over here. They've kind of made it, I think it takes some skill out of the game, because this ward spot, which not that many people knew about except in high elo, is now something that is pretty obvious to most players, even in silver, to do, just because there's a bush there. So they kind of took the skill out of that ward and just made it obvious to everyone that you should be warding in the middle here. But because of that, so the reason why you used to place the control ward up in the front is because that would spot this ward over here. But now that that's not a thing, you should return to putting the control ward way in the back of the bush so it's harder for them to take. Okay, and they ward there, and we ping it. I don't think that I would let this guy walk at you like that. Let's take a look at that. You should throw Q at this guy way earlier, and you can actually go in on him and fight him. So we miss Q here, we pop E because we're scared, but we don't really need to be Eing there. Maybe that's why we don't Q, because let's take a look at your hotbar, because maybe it's still on cooldown and stuff as you're moving back over here. Yeah, it is actually. So I would have queued here, but you can't because you tried queuing up here. And your E's on cooldown, so it's actually, I mean, maybe it isn't that great of a fight. So, okay, this is another thing I'll say about ability usage, right? It's really hard to hit an ability when you're spamming it and it's coming off of cooldown. You've probably noticed this, right? If you're playing a champion and you're waiting to use an ability, right? What's happening here with this Q is because your Q is on cooldown, you're waiting to use this ability and you're hovering your mouse like you're already going to throw the ability. But the problem is, instead of aim where he's at and then throw it, you've been aiming and then you just throw it as when it comes up because you're spamming the button, but you're not readjusting. So don't throw your ability like, well, it depends on the champion, right? But I'm just saying, if you spam your ability when it's coming off of cooldown, there's a good chance you'll miss. You need to readjust and then throw your Q. So it's just something that happens in a split second, but you need to not trail with your cursor and then spam Q and throw it when it comes back up. You need to be like, okay, Q's up now, boom. Oh, I did something weird. But like, move your mouse first, then Q. Never hover your mouse and then Q, you know, just whenever it comes back up or whatever. So that's why you miss this Q. And then Jhin is walking up, even though Pyke's threatening Samira and stuff like that, Jin's walking up really far, especially if you hit this Q, right? But maybe even if you don't, you probably just W into Jin's face here, because he's walking up within melee range of the minions, and you guys can burst him down. Yes, they're super far ahead of you in items, like he's got completed Yomus and your AD carry doesn't. You guys can still win 2v2 if you play it well, despite all the mistakes that have been made. So when Jhin walks up like this, there was a really good video, I think like Core JJ or somebody did, about support, where he said that bot lane, it basically works in like triangles, and what you're looking for when you're looking for somebody stepping out of line is somebody creating a triangle. And right now you've kind of fallen back here from where you were over here, right? But let's take a look in terms of what I mean here. I think this is a really clear example of triangles, so you can see what I'm talking about. Triangles are like, there's 3 points in a triangle, right? And so the 2 points, and we'll just draw some triangles, right? Okay, Jhin right here. Jin is putting himself in a triangle, more or less. This is kind of a scuffed triangle because Samira is a little bit too far back, right? But let's say Samira's positioning properly, and Samira's like, why is Samira down here, right? This is worse for her. Let's say Pike's over here, because Pike's coming back into lane 2. He's going to be somewhere over here, right? Samira is better positioned if she's in the middle of her minions because Pike can't hook her. She thinks because she's a little bit closer to her tower that she's safer, but she's actually less safe than if she was up here in her minions because Pike can hook her down here and she can't get hooked in the minions. So Samira should be up here. So let's say Samira's positioned properly, more like, you know, melee range of this melee minion over here. You have this triangle, right, between you and Samira and the Jin. And Pike's nowhere to be seen. He's way off over here, right? When you have a triangle like this, it's a golden... Oh, actually, Pike is like in the middle here. But again, you don't know that. It's whatever. You have a golden opportunity here where you're essentially 2v1. And so what you're looking for constantly by dancing around in the lane and moving is... This noise is so annoying. Need like a mute button or something. What you're looking for here constantly is when do they step out of line and put themselves in a 2v1 situation. Even if it's a 2v1 situation for 1 second or 2 seconds, that's an eternity in League, right? You can get jumped on and stunned in 1 or 2 seconds, right? So Jin put himself in a triangle, but instead of attacking Jin here, you're both getting scared and running away from Pike. If both of you move up here when Pike W's in down here and then E's in over here. Why is Pike Eing in over here? He's Eing over here so that he's getting behind your minion waves and can throw hooks at you. Where are you safe from Pike? You guys are both safest from Pike if you're in front of your minions over here and all-inning Jin. And now Pike has used W and E to put himself as far away from his AD carry as he can get. And if you guys start running at Jin here, there's nothing Pike can do to help Jin. So you guys could have walked up here together, and you're way further back than Samira is. Samira actually walked back up towards the minions a little bit when Pike went down like this because he was here. And instead of walking down here, he walked up towards the minions. Only reason why he's walking, you know, down here instead of up here is because if he walks up here towards Jin, then he's going to isolate himself from you now. So you're basically, when you're moving in bot lane, it's a constant dance, and you're trying to put yourself in a position where their AD carry or their support is in a triangle with you where they're isolated 2v1. You're looking for isolation. Now, Pike's just isolated himself again. It's for a short period of time, but actually you guys have, again, a 2v1 triangle on Pike here. So you should queue Pike here. Oh, your queue's on cooldown. That's really bad. And then you should W into Samira here to block the Jin W. And it's not even like crazy timing to try to block the Jin W or anything like that. It's also just that she just got hooked, so you really need to get in front of her here. Okay, so you lay down the ult, which is good. And then you auto Pike, which is also good because you're next to Pike. Now W to Samira. And then focus Jin, because you guys are going to need to focus Jin. So I'd like to see you W to Samira, auto Q, exhaust Jin, throw everything on him. Instead, you just keep autoing Pike. So that's not good enough, right? Your AD carry is dying. Okay, let's take a look at that. Why is the sound off? Oh, I turned the music volume on. Okay, you got a W in here. Okay, another thing here too. Another reason why ulting here is quite bad actually is because you need to ult. Well, actually your AD carry dies before anyway. I would have W'd and then you ult the Jin and do everything to the Jin. Okay. Okay, so right here, we'll slow this down so you can see what I'm talking about, but your movement, right? Like, okay, let's watch your movement here. So this is all fine. Good E to block the force shot. So Pike helps you out here. Jin should never open up ult until you're like out of his auto range here, right? But Jin opens up ult here like an idiot. So what you should do is you should immediately walk out of the Jin ult. But what you do is, you see how you're stepping back here? Now you realize you should be stepping forward, but instead of stepping perpendicular to the Jin ult to get out as fast as possible, which would be this way, you're walking this way because you're too slow to move your mouse this way because you were just stepping back. So you're moving your mouse in a circle and you can't get all the way to over here because you've just had your mouse moving back. So these clicks are a little bit bad. Again, you're moving backwards here. This is really bad. Another because you should be moving into your minions, which gives you the best chance of fighting them and killing Pyke, is if you move into your minions and make sure that he keeps taking minion damage. If Pyke is able to run out here or something like that, he might actually have a chance of living. So you want to be bringing Pyke into your minions first off. Secondly, right, you're running back into the Jin ult. And here's a tip about Jin ult, right, which you'll see here. Jin ult has a fat hitbox at the edges. So if you're close to the edge like this, especially, you will get hit. The other thing is Braum E makes Braum have a bigger hitbox, so it's even worse, right? So you're definitely going to get hit. But I mean, you're walking back into it. So you're definitely getting hit here. So you get hit by an extra Jin shot. That one misses and he cancels, so. And you do get the Q and the auto onto Pyke and trade it back. But if you don't take that Jin shot, I'm telling you, there's literally a chance that you... I don't know what abilities you had up. There's literally a chance that you double kill them, or, well, maybe no shot that you double kill them. You could, if you play this really well with really good movement, there's a chance that you can double kill them here. And maybe not a chance that you can double kill them, but you can potentially escape here if your W is coming back up. Let's see. Yeah, your W. Oh, no. This is way too far back. Yeah, you have W here. Yeah, you just didn't use W before you died. So I'm telling you, if you kite into your minions, don't take that Jin shot, right? Jin's wasted his ult instead of hitting you this whole time with autos, which would have done the same amount of damage, like with autos and Q. You can potentially kill Pyke by kiting into your minions and then W back to a minion here. And like, if you get lucky and Jin misses W or something like that, you'll actually live here. But that's, I mean, that's really tough, right? That's really, like, really good mechanics would need to happen there. But so far, like, we're just getting completely stomped out of lane. We're just, you know, we're not doing a whole lot right. Okay, Jin overstays again, because remember, he should not stay until you guys show up back in the lane. He needs to leave when he gets the minion wave in. You know, if he can auto the turret, like, a couple of times when he gets the minion wave in and get a plate, then so be it. But otherwise, he shouldn't be trying to take the plate. So now he's stuck again, and we'll see. Again, he's not recalling. And so you have to understand, they're giving you so many opportunities where they haven't spent their gold. It's like, okay, Jin's got 1,600 gold that he hasn't spent, which takes his actual item total down to, like, what he's actually spent down to 4,000, about 4,000. And Samira has spent 3,300. So you're down 700 gold, which is like 2 long swords. You're back to that situation you were at earlier in the game. Actually, it's a little bit rough. She's kind of what we call item troughed right now because her item's not complete. So this is a little bit rough, but you're kind of back to that spot you were in before after you got double killed like the first time or something like that, where you're actually only down like 20 AD on their AD carry, and you have Locket. Pyke's not back yet, although he'll be back in like a second. So again, you want to keep Jin locked into lane. You probably, oh, we'll talk about this again, right? Remember how I said when you come back into lane, you should do something? Like, we know that there is a small window just because of timing. There, oh my god, Pyke waited for an item or something too. So you actually have a huge window here. Now, you wouldn't know that. You would assume Pyke's going to be back in like 5 or 10 seconds. But that's a huge amount of time, like I said. You should walk into lane here and immediately WE into this minion and then auto this guy in Q. And you should be pinging it. But instead, you just walk into the lane and start farming. You have a window here of like potentially 10 seconds when Pyke's not going to be here. It ends up being like 30 because Pyke waited a little bit for an item, right? Which happens. So, you know, you should definitely 2v1 the Jhin here. But instead of Wing forward to the minion and keeping Jhin in lane and 2v1ing him while Pyke is in base, you just don't do anything. So you got to take advantage of the fact that they're offset from each other, right? Pyke went back to base and recalled. Jhin stayed in the lane to get the plate. So Pyke's, there's going to be some time before Pyke gets back. Again, here, this is perfect. You W forward to the minion, you Q him, and he's still alone 2v1 for like 5 seconds. Now Pyke is on his way, so it's a little bit rough if he gets back. And it looks like Samira wants to follow up too, but you just run away immediately after you hit the Q. And now Pyke's back, and Talon's down here, but we don't really know that. Also, I haven't seen you ward like the whole game. Oh, except for that one time, I guess you threw the 3 wards here, but then you used too many wards that time, the one time you did ward. Okay, now you're going in. Oh my god. Okay, now you're going in even though Pyke is here and you don't know where their jungler is. So why would you go in on this, but you won't go in on the first 2 plays? So flash for flash. Okay, let's back up. You did a lot wrong here. You actually win this fight. Which, again, goes to my point. The first 2 opportunities that you had to fight this Jhin right here while he's overstaying would have been even better than this, okay? Now, you don't have ult, but what do we got here? We got, like, EQ. Okay, so we Q, and we E, and we run at the guy, and he flashes. Okay, fine. But we've got to walk Samira out here. Look, Samira's getting aggressive here. I get that she probably shouldn't be walking up here, but, like, she's about to auto the Jhin, right? Yes, she does. So if you're walking, you are in front of her. So if you walk at Jhin here, you might be able to stun the Jhin here. And if you stun the Jhin here, Samira has E and heal, right? You guys kill him if you stun him here. So you back off and let her get hit by the W. You're giving them this triangle we talked about, right? Because you're sitting further back than she is, even though you guys win this fight on the Jhin right now. So then, now it's just doomed because you've given them the triangle. You don't have any way to protect Samira anymore because your abilities are down. You've gone on the offensive, but when you go on the offensive and use all of your abilities like this, especially against an opponent who's super far ahead of you because of all the mistakes that you've made, you have to capitalize on going in like that if you're going to go in and actually take out their AD carry. Otherwise, you're really just way too threatened. So now you should lock it, obviously, but you just don't use lock it. That's really, really sad too, because Samira was ulting, and even with how bad this all went and giving them the triangle and stuff like that, not finishing the Jhin when you could have, if you had locketed while Samira was ulting, she might have lived long enough and gotten her ult off long enough that she would have killed both of them. So that's pretty sad. If you're not going to defend the tower, there's no point to be here anymore. I would have liked to see you like walk in front of the tower and E. I'm sure, I would assume you know this trick, right? But you walk in front of the tower and then you E, and then when they try to auto the tower, because you intercept their auto attack with your E, they start taking tower aggro. Now, Jin's super low, so there's actually a world here when you're defending this tower in which you he walks up and autos into your E, he takes the turret shot, you Q him, and there's a world in which you actually kill the Jhin by yourself here. Maybe you ult and then auto him one time. Your E actually lasts long enough that even if they walk back to break turret aggro and then walk in and try to do it again, now they'd have to be pretty stupid to do it again, but sometimes they think, oh, your E is going to fall down before I auto again or something, and they go for, or they don't understand what happened, especially in silver, so they just go for the auto again, take another turret shot. It's actually possible you pick up a kill on Jhin here, which would have been pretty big, and if you're going to stay here anyways, you might as well try something like that. Pyke and Jhin can't dive you when you're full HP like this, so it wouldn't have mattered. If you're not going to defend the tower and you're just waiting around here, then you probably should be headed towards other potential plays that you could make in other spots of the map. Again, it's tough mid though because it is Fizz. This Q doesn't make sense. The reason why this Q doesn't make sense is because you have an angle to just walk at the... So you remember we were talking earlier about the angles, right? And you probably have W here because you haven't done a lot. So just don't W or don't Q here, right? Just look, this guy's completely trapped. You know, if he runs this way, Kha'Zix cuts him off, and then you'll catch up. If he runs this way, you just walk at him and hold Q, and you'll like auto Q him. You'll like W to this minion when you get up further enough. Pyke looks like what he's trying to do is maybe E over this wall. This is a difficult E to pull off though, so we'll see if he can do it. He's not confident enough, he doesn't even try it. But he cuts the corner here, and he's going to get away from you because you neither W'd to the minion to cut him off, or saved your Q for when you could actually hit him when it's clear where he's going, or after he's used his dash. And you actually do get the auto off, but that just goes to show my point, right? Like, you cut him off and got an auto off, so if you had held Q until after you autoed, I mean, you would have even gotten here to auto him faster if you hadn't have spent time in Q animation, right? And W the minion here and chase them because Kha'Zix is flanking them, but we don't W to the minion here. Okay, now we're going in. We throw the Q, and we get a kill. I still don't like this. The reason why I still don't like this is because the Q that we throw at Jhin is just this max range Q. And what we should be doing right here is when Kha'Zix jumps in, we should wait for Kha'Zix to jump in, and then when Kha'Zix jumps in, we should W to Kha'Zix. Also, no reason to ult here that Jin's just dead, especially if you W into the Kha'Zix and gain better positioning on the Jhin. So this is kind of a waste of ult. Okay, now you need to... Where are you? Where are you going? So we see Fizz leave here. So, like... well, actually, hold on. Let's look at our vision. Yeah, we see... Oh, I don't know yet. If we do see Fizz leave towards bot, it's going to be like... Yeah, we do see him leave towards bot here, but it's while you guys are making this play, so I don't blame you for missing this on the map, but you need to see that Fizz is leaving mid here on the map, actually. At least at a high level you do. Okay, so then right here, right? As soon as you see Fizz too, you need to be running straight at Kha'Zix, right? You just don't see Fizz going on Kha'Zix here. And so you're running away. I get that Kha'Zix is getting caught here, and it's a little bit rough because it's hard to notice Fizz leaving mid there when you're in the middle of fighting like that. But you need to walk to Kha'Zix. Like, you need to notice this happening next to you. Not noticing that this is happening next to you is like a heavy lack of awareness, right? So I get that you want to shove it out bot because you got a kill onto their ADC, and Kha'Zix does take kind of an aggressive pathing, but it's also fine that he's taking that aggressive pathing because you did kill their ADC. But I think you've got to at least react to what's going on around you, even if the play is kind of rough. Okay, at least we see this, right? Like, Talon gets out, but at least we see what's going on with this one. This was better, even though you missed Q, right? See how you walked at him first instead of throwing the Q, and then after he flashed, you tried to hit him with Q. If your Q was a little bit more accurate here, after he flashed, you might have gotten him here. But at least it was the right sequence of events, right? Like, you walked at him, you W'd to gain as much positioning on him as possible, forced him to flash. After he's used his flash and all of his dashes, then you throw the Q at him. And unfortunately it misses. He was like max range anyways, so it might have not even hit. But I think it could have hit if you threw it really accurately. But at least it was a good sequence to do, right? And then you guys are walking away from this, but why are you walking away from this? You guys maybe pick up the second kill if instead of turning around here and walking backwards, if you actually keep following up on this. You hit Q, like, keep walking up here. Like, I don't understand why you guys are going backwards for. Yeah, Pike's one auto away. If you and Samira are not, you know, walking backwards, you definitely just get him. And then like you're pulling Samira away too. It's even worse because you hit this Q over here. You got the movement speed from the Solstice Sleigh, so you actually moved away faster than you would have because you hit the Q. Let's see how long it took you to notice this one. What's going on here? Ah, that was pretty fast. Although I was going at 4 times speed. Let's see. No, that was fine. Although I never played it on normal speed, I don't think. I think your reaction time to that was fine. Pike came out of the blue really fast. Okay, so now we think about what we're doing next, though. So Pike just died, and Fizz is dead. So we dive Jin here 100%, right? Uh-oh. Because Jin's about to walk back into lane, and he's 1v2. So even if he's far ahead, we punish the Jin for his support being dead here. Unfortunately, Kha'Zix is getting jumped on by Talon. Again, we are... Oh, Locket's on cooldown this time, to be fair. Why did we lock it before? Did we lock it over here when Nico was ulting? Was that lock it? Yeah, you just lock it. Why lock it here? You guys are all pretty healthy. No reason to lock it there. So because you use lock it there, don't use lock it just because there's a lot of fighting going on. Use it reactively, be patient with it. Use it when you see a lot of damage coming out or when it's going to save somebody's life, right? Way better to use lock it to block 200 damage that's going to save somebody's life than to just generically block 600 damage in a fight. So you're coming over, but Kha'Zix gets jumped on. Oh, the other thing I'll say here is you do this wrong too. You have Solstice Sleigh here at this point, which means that if you you should not be hitting the control word anymore. At least you break off of it after the first one. So I'm sure you know this as well, maybe, but when you use E on Braum, you can Q or ult while you're in the air with W, while you're midair. If you do not E when you're Wing, you have to wait until you land with your W before you can Q. So even though you want to be patient with E, is this a situation where we can be patient with E or help Kha'Zix in any way by having E here? It's not, right? Talon's already Q'd. You're not blocking anything with E. He's a melee champion, so you're not blocking any of his autos. You can't do anything to protect Kha'Zix with E. Even if you could, Kha'Zix is 100 HP, so you have to E here to protect him. It's now or never, right? So you should E as you're Wing here so that you can Q. Hitting Talon with Q here will give Kha'Zix the heal from Solstice Sleigh. But because you don't E when you W, you Q way too slow after you land instead of queuing as you're Wing into him. So if you had EW queued here, you would have healed Kha'Zix with the Solstice Sleigh. If you had not used Locket earlier, you'd have the Locket shield, and you might actually win this together. But instead you W like this, and then you miss Q because it's too late, and Talon's got the movement speed going away. And then you pop here at the end, but it's too late. Okay, so now you guys are overstaying. I get that you had to protect Kha'Zix and whatnot, but once you shove the wave into the turret, you guys need to be resetting. Kha'Zix died, it is what it is. You guys are losing Dragon because you're super far behind, and Kha'Zix just died, and their jungler's down here. So you guys should be backing off, giving the Dragon. Instead, now you guys are overstaying, and instead of taking your free recall when you got the wave into the tower after killing Jin, now you guys are stuck in lane without having spent your gold. So now Samira's sitting on 800 gold, and you're sitting on 1300 gold that you haven't spent. So that's not good. And look at that. Talon actually didn't just opt to do the dragon right away. Maybe Jin wasn't coming or something like that. And because you guys have overstayed, now Talon can just hop onto you guys. I mean, this is really rough positioning, so I don't blame you too much for like missing the Q or anything like that, but you need to do everything you can to save Samira here, which means you need to turn on your E. Since Talon's already Q'd or whatever, you're probably going to E in the direction of the Jhin, right, to try to block the Jhin autos, and you're going to need to instantly ult like both of them, so you're going to ult in a line like this, and you're also going to need to instantly exhaust the Talon just in case he gets an auto off or something like that. Now, why in the world would you right-click behind Samira when you need to be in front of Samira with E to have any chance at surviving this fight? So you don't even E before Samira dies. No exhaust, right? It's similar to the last play. It looks like your first resort here is to just instantly go for an ult. But it's got to be more succinct. You've got to get to Samira faster. Your E gives you movement speed, and you're going to have to pop it to save him anyway. So E and then W, just like the situation with the Kha'Zix when you're trying to save somebody that's low HP. Losing, you know, a quarter of a second on E because you pop it a little bit early before you get to them is fine. You just need to have it off. Then you can ult when you W into them. So E, W, ult, exhaust, you know. So after Kha'Zix died, oh lord, yeah, after Kha'Zix died, you guys should have recalled because you had the wave in. Instead, you overstay, and Talon punishes you by coming over the wall and flanking you and killing you. You don't play the mechanics of the fight perfectly, and then you flash at the end here in a straight line too and die to the Jhin ult, so that's not good. But hey, here's another thing too, right? Like, keep in mind, because I said this earlier, like, you have an 80% win rate on Braum, which is, you're doing really, really well. You're already 2 division. I get that there's a lot of elo inflation right now because Riot's trolling, but like, you know, regardless, props to you. You're 2 divisions higher than you were last season already, so that's absolutely outstanding. You know, you chose a game to VOD review that was a game that you played that was really rough, that was tough, and that's a good thing that you wanted to VOD review this one. You know, everyone wants to choose a game to VOD review where they went 20-0, you know, but that doesn't teach you anything. Look at how many things. Probably we've gone through like 150 mistakes or something already, and we're 17 minutes into this game. So, you know, how does this game end at 20 minutes? You guys FF? Why would you FF this game? It's 9-16 in silver. You're down 7 kills. This is no biggie. Let's look at the scaling too. Jhin scales terribly. Pyke scales terribly. Talon jungle does not scale well. And you guys have like Lilia, Nico, Samira, Braum. You guys have insane wombo combo. So I hope you weren't the one to try to FF this, because you should never FF this game, especially in silver. Oh my god, what's happening here? Okay, so you see some... Oh, this is actually fine on your part. So you see Samira farming bot, but she's pretty far, you know, back. She's like close to her tier 2 turret, although she's like meleeing these minions, which is a little bit weird. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna move up for the first time and do something outside of bot lane. I think this is totally fine from your part. The other thing is Samira's like what we call like ping-ponging the wave. She had a freeze here, but instead of freezing it, she just hits all the minions as fast as she can. Why is she trying to push this? Is she going to be able to push it all the way into the enemy turret so that it'll push back to her? No. So she does this and then just hands them a freeze. If they were good players, they just stop the wave here, and then she'd never be able to see us for the rest of the game, but that's not going to happen. So they flank her. This is a good flank from Pyke and Jhin. Oh, she actually trades onto the Pyke too, which isn't even that bad. So this is not, I would not worry about this at all. You guys find the Pyke up here. What I'm trying to figure out though is, when is Baron and Dragon spawning? So I guess Baron's in 2 minutes because it spawns at 20, and I have no idea when Dragon is. Because the stupid, it's got to be like a timer or something. The stupid replay client doesn't have a way to look at when Dragon spawns or something. Okay, let's see what we have here. What do we have up? Can we do something better? Using... Oh, whoa. This is really not good. you're using way too much. Like, I get that we are a little bit desperate in this game, but this is way too much. You should not be using E just to gain a little bit of movement speed to chase this guy, and then using exhaust into a bush. First off, you have wards, right? So you should have warded this bush as soon as you lost vision on him, not let him walk. You've got like this super blast cone over here, so exhausting the guy when he's a fizz first off and is super slippery, right? He's gonna have E soon. And he's going to be walking into like this blast cone where he can go like all the way back here into the river. You're just like giving him the exhaust and then letting him walk away for free. You get ulted here and you walk into your teammate with the ult, but I do kind of understand that you sort of have to back off. You burned your E earlier. You have no exhaust because you used the exhaust on the fizz. You have no flash from earlier, no ult. Do you have locket? No, you don't even have locket. So why are we even going for this play in the first place then if we have nothing up? You should back out here. I mean, you don't play too terribly for what you have, but you should have never chased with E and exhaust in the first place. So you kind of bait your teammates by doing that. Let's see what happened here. I need to go back. Okay, so you're out, but then Lilia is actually getting out too. And so this is good. You come to walk him out, which is good, because a lot of people would have just left or, you know, see if he can walk out himself. So you try to get him out. You Q with the Solstice Slay, which is good, gives him the heal and the movement speed. You've got E here, though. Although this is Udyr, so you can't do anything with that. Wait, okay, I'm trying to figure out what even happened here. There's so many things going on. Okay, so you pop this for movement speed for him. You should probably pop this now, but this is okay. You probably just think about it now. So this is fine. So W, you have W, you should W onto the Lilia here. Yeah, you just have W the entire time and never use it on him. It's kind of weird. You were ignited, so you were going to die. So I get continuing to fight there. That's fine. Kha'Zix picks up the kill. And Kha'Zix is dead. Okay, they're pushing in mid. Samira kind of griefs the pathing a little bit. See, this is good. This is actually an example, maybe the first time this entire game, where you have come in out of base and actually used the fact that they don't know where you are and they don't know when you're going to get back to like W in and try to do something. Now you wildly whiff Q, but still, this was actually the first time. This is like very similar to what I do like all the time. Like always walk in, immediately W and see what you can do. So we're trying to get them to stay here, potentially. What abilities? We have everything. Go, go, go. Yeah, W, E. Uh-oh. See, maybe you don't know this trick. Again, this is a situation where if you E here and aim your Q a little bit better, you're actually going to hit him with Q. And then once you hit somebody with Q, you're going to Q ult, right, onto this play. But instead the Q misses because you don't commit your E to the play. But you guys wanted to chase them down. The other thing you could say about this too is that, like, obviously in order to give them the impression that they were fine or whatever, or like maybe you're not sure of the play, you're like kind of hesitating, walking back and forth. You're not like chasing them down in a straight line. If you had like chased them down in more of a straight line, then you probably could have gotten onto them even without the E. Okay. Is Dragon coming up soon? Dragon must be up soon. Because we're all playing around it. It would be really nice if Riot would tell me what's going on in the game. Because almost everything is just playing around the Barons, playing around the Dragons, and I don't know what's going on. Uh-oh, you're trolling. So another thing that's really important is in order to walk up and get vision on any objective, but let's say the dragon in this case, right, which is probably coming up in like a minute and a half or a minute, you usually, especially if you're behind, want to push through mid. There's a lot of reasons why you want to do that, but this is a much more open space, and now it's even more open actually, but this is a much more open space to walk through than here. So if your team has a choice between walking into the river this way in this choke point or walking into the river this way through this wide open space, you're going to want to walk through this wide open space, which means you need to shove out the waves so that you have enough control to be able to walk through here together. Yes, it's your job to ward, but the best and safest way for you to be able to get out here and ward is to shove the mid wave first so that you can go with your teammates in sync with them. So you should actually be mid, helping them and protecting them and threatening the other team so that you can push the mid wave and then walk into ward, not just going off into the river and trying to ward by yourself. This is fine. I mean, it's a little bit excessive to use E here or whatever, but like this is good reaction to seeing Kha'Zix getting jumped on by Fizz, like off of screen or whatever. I think E is still on cooldown. Yeah, so here we couldn't like Q faster by using E, even though it's a good opportunity potentially on the Jhin because our E is on cooldown, so it's fine. You know, the Q misses because it's a Q without E. It's a little bit slow. It just is what it is. And so now we're flanking the Fizz. Pyke executed to the top tower or something for some reason. And we see that Udir's top, although our teammates split too. So we try to flank the Fizz, but we can't get him. And now Samira just walks right into the Fizz and kills himself. So, nothing you can do about that. Okay, so now you've got to back off. No. You guys are posturing like you're going to fight, but you guys need to back off because you're 4v. Well, technically 4v4 because Pyke's still back at base, but no. You guys, no. You don't want to fight without your 80 carry. No. Okay, and so now what have we done, right? We've used a bunch of cooldowns like our ult. And again, Dragon's got to be coming up really soon. We've been watching this game for a while now, and there's still no Dragon. So I'm assuming Dragon's coming up soon, right? Oh, this is because it's our vision. Is Dragon already up, or what's going on? No, it's still not up, but soon. No. So, you know, now we're not going to have ult for Dragon, I assume. Although we're probably not getting out to contest Dragon anyways. This is looking really rough. It's also third Dragon. So you probably want to give it anyways. And it's Chemtech Dragon, so it's like healing and shielding power, which is not that good for their team because they don't have a healer. None of their champions have that much healing. This is pretty good so far. Yeah, this is looking nice. Okay, you got the kill over here. Lilia chased a little bit too far, but you guys should be able to maybe pick this up. Okay, I'm going to watch that again now that we've seen it. Okay, so you flash Q. Oh, no. Yeah, that's not good. Not only because you steal the shutdown, but mostly because Kha'Zix is already ulting at the Fizz. And I assume we see Fizz use a bunch of stuff. Yeah, like Fizz already E'd. He can't Q. There's nothing to Q to. So you see Kha'Zix ulting in here, right? I actually think, especially if you have W here. No, you don't have W. But maybe in a little bit. I actually think if anything, you should be flashing this way towards the Pyke. Yeah, so Kha'Zix would have just picked that up, I think, on his own. He can smite and stuff like that after, and it's a big shutdown. You get 800 gold off of it. I think that you're close enough here with W and 1. Like, if you have flash here, and you were moving this way and letting Kha'Zix secure this kill, I think you could have played for this kill and actually like flash W'd onto Lilia. Lilia ran it a little bit too far, but I think he expected somebody from his team to follow him. So it's a bit grief from Lilia, but like somebody should have helped him, kind of. From Lilia's perspective, he messed up and shouldn't have ran away from his team. From your guys' perspective, Kha'Zix was going to secure the kill on Fizz, and you guys should have helped the Lilia. Always put the blame on what you can change in the situation, not what the other person could have done, because there's going to be 90% of situations in League, especially in Silver, where you can see we're talking about hundreds of mistakes constantly every second, right? Like every ability used is a mistake almost. Like, it's easy because you're going to find situations all the time. If you wanted to in Silver, right, and this is how people get hard stuck, if you wanted to in Silver, you could sit here for hours and point out every mistake like everyone else on your team is making and think that, well, if they played perfectly, I would have won regardless of the way that I'm playing if my teammates were like 5 challengers, Smurfs, or whatever. But that's ridiculous, right? That's not how the world works, and that's not how it's going to happen. You can't change the way that your teammates are going to play. The only thing you can do is reflect on what you had control over, even if it involves a play where your teammate made a mistake, and just do everything that you can control. That's why we don't say here like, oh, Kha'Zix is griefing, he ran into Fizz or Talon or whatever in the river and killed himself. We say, oh, we shouldn't have used Locket for nothing over here, and then maybe we could have saved him or something. So same thing here. We shouldn't have flashed and stolen the kill. We might have been able to actually save Lily here if we had like flash W'd onto Lily and exhausted Jhin or something like that and thrown up E. Okay, but it was looking like a decent fight. Okay, so Dragon's up in a minute now. Wow, so there was a long time on the Dragon. Okay. Kha'Zix gets a kill, but he dies. And you guys are getting split pushed down now because Udyr's in your base. The other thing I would say about this in general, right, macro-wise, especially after the Lilia dies over here and you guys kind of back off, play's just over, right? Like, your jungler's dead. You're not getting Dragon. Like, you guys see Udyr pushing your inhibitor and stuff like that. Like, once you guys are mid here, you should just back off and give the Dragon. It's also, like I already talked about, 3rd Dragon, and it's Chemtech Dragon, so this gives them nothing, right? So you guys should live to fight another day and back off from mid and go to your base together once the play kind of ends. Instead, you're just letting Udyr end the game, so... Out of the plant. Oh. Okay, let's look at this here. So, play's already doomed and the game's already over because, like I said, you guys needed to leave to stop the Udyr from taking your Nexus. But right here, right, when you get behind this guy like this, break the plant so that he gets knocked backwards into you guys and can't go over the wall. Instead, you auto him again, and that gives him the time, because you auto him instead of breaking the plant, to flash behind the plant. So now if you hit the plant, he's going over the wall. And crazily enough, he doesn't actually like hit the wall and take you over here. Maybe because he wants Jhin to help kill you, rather than 1v1ing you over here with the Dragon. Maybe he has a better chance of living next to Jhin than whatever. But yeah, you guys are overstaying. Oh, you vote to surrender because they're like on the Nexus. Which, I mean, I agree. At this point, it's looking pretty doomed. But there is still a small chance that you guys win this game for us, in Silver, considering that like this Dragon that they're gonna get doesn't really mean anything. And like you guys can play for like a Baron steal or something. There's like, if you want to know like the odds that you win this game, there's like a decent 3 or 4 or 5% chance that you win this game, which is not good. But it's not nothing. And so if you play like an extra minute or two to like see if you can steal Baron, because what's going to happen, they're going to take Dragon, you're going to push Udyr out of your base, and then you're going to go contest the Baron, and there's a chance you either win a team fight at the Baron or your jungler steals it or somebody steals it or something like that, and you guys hold on, right? And then your odds go like way up because there's no Dragon for 5 minutes, there's no Baron for 5 minutes, and they can't end because they didn't get the Baron, and you guys are just sitting in your base as 5 for 5 minutes. So in theory, if like nobody gets caught, if you steal the Baron or something like that, you buy yourself 5 full minutes to scale before you even have to worry about them getting another Dragon. It's Soul, which is Chemtech Soul, which it would suck to play against Chemtech Soul, but even if they get Soul, there's a chance that you guys still win. But it's not a good chance. But anyways, you get the idea, right? Like there's a lot of stuff, and that's just the way it goes. If it makes you feel any better, maybe we'll go through one of my games at some point, because it's easy to look at this stuff when you can slow it down retrospectively. I'm having to watch some of these fights 2 or 3 times to even understand what's going on. It is what it is, just because I know that you should do things a certain way doesn't mean that even I execute everything perfectly all the time. So it is what it is. But those are definitely some things to keep in mind. Big things that I see that you could improve based on this one game. And it's hard to say, because to tell what your problems are as a player, I'd need to see like a collection of games, right? But big things to improve, it's like, think about when you're in bot lane, pushing the wave, using the fact that you can auto the wave in order to get level 2, and in order to not put yourself in like a disadvantaged lane state where you're getting pressured too hard. When you're in a critical situation where you need to get your abilities off quickly, you need to abuse the mechanic of being able to throw Q or ult while you're in mid W by using your E preemptively. And you need to not spam Q during laning phase, because you should be holding it for when something's actually happening, or they're actually coming into you, or you can actually follow the Q up with something, because you give away a lot of pressure by that being down. It's the same concept that people would tell like a Blitzcrank player. It's just a little bit slightly less of a problem on Braum or other champions, but it applies to all champions. You have to be patient, hold the abilities for when they're actually coming into you, when you can actually make a play or actually punish them for making a mistake. Trust me, if you're playing in silver, they're going to be walking up and making positioning mistakes all the time. So if you're just spamming Q for a little bit of poke when they're like full HP and they're just going to regen it in 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds anyways, it's not doing anything. You should hold your Q for when something's actually happening, for when you can W. And there were like multiple times, which I really think is Braum's bread and butter. They're walking up in lane to your melee minions, like their AD carry is walking up to your melee minions, and you guys are like full HP, and you're not going in on them. And you can't let that happen. You need to W forward to that minion and clap Jin's cheeks when he walks up like that. Don't let him get away with that. Other stuff, it's difficult. There's a lot of things to keep track of when you're, especially when you're learning the game. For the first time, you only played ranked for a season or two. But like I see that you're struggling to use all of your abilities quickly and like lock it. And you've got to know what you have and be able to use it. Locket's actually, like I've talked about in the Braum Discord, Locket's kind of bad right now compared to what it used to be. So if you're also like not using it in half of the fights because you're forgetting you have it, it's almost worth it to go another item. And I know that silver players or players who are newer or learning the game struggle a lot with active items. One of the reasons why I like having those active items is because, well, on paper, they're like the best items you can go on Braum, but they're also really high skill cap, right? Like if you get really good with Locket and Redemption, you can block a lot of damage. And I feel like I can always get better at what I'm doing with Locket and Redemption. And the same goes for you, right? It's just a different level of, I've got to remember that I have it and use it. And then you'll get to the point where you're like, okay, I have it and I'm using it. But am I using it to save somebody's life when they're 200 HP? Or am I, invading the enemy team in like you would do with a heal? Or am I just spamming Locket because a lot's going on in the fight? So those sort of things. Well, yeah, that's the gist of it. You can always watch back my comments on a lot of other different things. There's a lot of problems, but that's just the way that it is. And like I said, this wasn't, your best game. Obviously, you're winning a lot of games. I'm sure that your other games, you do some of this stuff better, and that's why you're winning and having a better time in those games. So I'm sure you know some of these things already from doing them in the games that you're winning. It's good to look at the games that you're making mistakes in, because you should get so much out of this. We're talking about hundreds of things that you can pick up from this, from warding to positioning to ability usage to patience to remembering to use certain stuff and combos on Braum, everything, the whole list, right? So anyways, hope you find this helpful, and we'll be uploading this to YouTube, so I hope Hi, YouTube. Hope you guys found this helpful as well, and hope to do some more VOD reviews in the future. And it's nice to be able to VOD review someone other than myself, to kind of get, videos on YouTube that I'm making are really targeted at like the majority of League players who are in like silver and gold, and you guys probably would enjoy looking at both what it looks like to play Braum well, and what it looks like to play Braum at the level you're playing Braum at, so you can see what mistakes you guys are making. And so a mix of both is good. And if I'm focusing on fixing some tiny little detail that I need to iron out or something like that, it's not as helpful as going through the 300 mistakes that a silver Braum player is making. And this guy's the best silver Braum player out there right now, because this guy's 80% win rate with Braum and silver, and rapidly moving towards gold, right? Like finished last season in silver 4 and is already silver 2. So this guy's, I'm not even kidding when I say that, like probably one of the best Braum players in silver, which, I mean, maybe it's not saying much because it's silver, but like this guy's on his way to gold. So hopefully you guys find this helpful and can improve off of some of this stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one.